Hey, what's up guys, this is Shihab and this is my review of the Sony a6300. So this review will be video focused, so I'm not gonna talk about the photography thing. Obviously this camera takes great photos with 24 megapixel APS-C size Sony Exmor RS sensor. But this little cute camera is attractive to the people who are looking for filming in 4K in a budget. So obviously a lot of people are looking for a camera that can shoot in 4K, and Sony a6300 is a great camera for shooting in 4K. So I will not go any technical specs or how many features this small thing has or how great this feature packed camera is, because there is already a lot of review and you can always check the specs. So I will share my experience with this Sony a6300 because I am using this camera for like 6 months, and I think there's a lot of small things that everybody should note before buying this camera. So obviously this is a mirrorless camera, so no flip out mirror. It has a direct sensor, so you can see the sensor here, and this is the kit lens that comes with this Sony a6300. You have a electronic viewfinder, and the viewfinder is really very bright, and you can see everything in the viewfinder very clearly. You have a LCD at the back which is quite sharp. You can have a little bit of angle adjustment of this LCD screen, which is a little bit handy. You have a couple of custom buttons you can assign to some features. At the top you have the mode dial and then a wheel to adjust certain things. You can assign it to aperture or iris control. You have this wheel / button. So let's not go there very deep of the buttons and the layout of the buttons this camera offers. So the things I'm going to talk about, first of all, I'm going to address the few of the issues or few of the concern every new buyer like to know, which is the heating issue. I am using this camera for like 6 months and this camera never shut down during the shooting, and I'm shooting XFCE 4K at 24 frames per second. And also you have to know about my shooting environment. So most of my shooting is in the indoor at a studio, and the room temperature is 25 degrees Celsius. So what if I bring this camera outside to shoot? Will it overheat and turn off? So I did a short film with this Sony a6300. I never had any overheating issues, because in the short film you usually don't shoot a scene using a long stretch of time like 20 or 30 minutes. You take a shot and then you cut, and then you prepare your camera and set up for the next take or for the next shot. So in the short film shooting scenario, this overheating issue of this Sony a6300 will not be a problem, because you are not going to shoot a long video for short film. I've seen sometimes the thermometer logo which represents the overheating, because meaning your camera is getting warmer and this is never shut down. I have seen at the 24 or 26 minute, and usually it records video for 30 minutes and after that it stops. Before 30 minutes never died. But this can be a problem if you are buying this camera for interviews and wedding, because you don't know how the shooting scenario will be at the wedding. Will it be very cold or hot? You have no control over the environment you are going to shoot in. And also the interview, you cannot risk with a camera which has some overheating talkies around the people, so overheating buzz is flying around, so you cannot risk it. For these two scenarios, wedding and interviews, I think you should not buy the Sony a6300. Obviously for shooting video with this Sony a6300 in the wedding, not the photos. No problem with the photos. I have a few complaints about this camera. Before going there, I have to address some of the great features and some of the stunning things this little thing do, which I'm really loving. So I'll say I have a love-hate relationship with this cute tiny thing. So first of all, the 4K video. The 4K video from the Sony a6300 is great. It uses entire sensor, it's a super 35mm sensor, and the 4K image you got is actually a 6K image downscaled to 4K. This sensor is awesome. The dynamic range is great, and the ISO performance is far better than the cameras from the Canon or Nikon from the same budget, but they don't even offer 4K within this budget. And I used to be a Canon shooter, but I sold my Canon 70D because 4K is the future, because 1080 is the standard right now, because it is the most used resolution in the entire world, and the 4K is coming to take the standard resolution within the next 3 years. I thought 4K is going to be a good upgrade. The photos is also very good. You can take some great photos with this thing, and the kit lens that comes with it is really tiny, so you can carry this little camera with you wherever you go. The battery life of this camera is not so great because it has a really tiny battery, as you can see, and this lasts only like I'll say 40 to 50 minutes depending on how you are rigging rigging your camera, like if you are using third-party lenses with adapters and other accessories that drains battery. Depending on that, 40 to 50 minutes max, so you have to buy some to be tension free. But the battery issue is not bothering me, and I am not disturbed by the battery issue. So now I'll talk about the things that I don't like about this camera. First of all, this screen does not rotate. Right now I am filming with my Canon 700D, which has a flip out screen, so I can see myself what I am shooting. This camera does not offer that. So before talking some negative things about this camera, like the screen, and some other will come, I'll talk about that. So first let me tell you my shooting environment and what I shoot and what I do with this camera. So I am a YouTuber. Primarily I bought this camera for shooting my YouTube videos, and I am a one-man crew. So I set up the camera, I sit here, I talk about tech, and then I take the memory card, put it in my computer and edit this footage, then I upload to YouTube. So that's whole thing is done and processed by me. So I'm a one-man crew. For people who are one-man crew, for the people who don't have a cameraman or the person behind the camera for operating the camera, I think this camera is a pain in the ass. Also, since I'm coming from the Canon side, so I happen to have a lot of Canon glasses. So to use Canon glasses, I have to use an adapter to adapt the Canon glasses. But adapting Canon glasses makes another problem, which is autofocus, and which is also a very major and important factor with a one-man crew. Now many of you will say that autofocus is for amateurs, professional shoots, manual. I know all of those things, and I can completely shoot manual focus, but that's not the problem. The problem is the workflow. I like to upload in the YouTube regularly. I like to upload in the YouTube like 2 or 3 times a week, but this camera is slowing me down. So I cannot use autofocus using the Canon glasses. So I have to put the camera onto the tripod, then I have to put something where I'll be sit, then I have to manually tune the focus, and then I have to start the video, and I have to run over here in my chair and I have to sit down where I'll be usually sit, and then I have to go back, stop the video, and then I have to check that if my face is in sharp focus. If it's not, I have to do this process 2 or 3 times to get the perfect focus, because I cannot see what I'm shooting. So for doing like selfie composition and selfie focus checking, you don't have this luxury with this camera, because you cannot see what you are filming. This screen and the unreliable autofocus with the adapter is slowing me down. So these 2 major problems for one-man crew. But if you have a person operating the camera behind the camera, then this won't be a problem at all. From behind you can access everything, and framing, focusing, every issues that I have talked about just right now is nothing permanent. Many of the people complained about the button layout, button placement, button layout, and the small tiny buttons and the menu of this camera. I think most of them are coming from the Canon side. So the Canon menu is excellent, it's beautiful, it's elegant, it's laid out simply and thoughtful way. But compared to the Canon, this is little bit chaotic. So I will say that will be pain for a lot of people who are coming from the Canon. But I'm using this camera for 6 months, and now I'm used to this menu and the how the things are operating. Now this is not a problem for me. So should you buy this camera for video making? If you are one-man crew and if you don't have any plan to spend on this camera, then I think you should look somewhere else, like Panasonic G7 is, though you will not be satisfied with the autofocus of the Panasonic Lumix GH5, which is also a very great camera, has flip out screen, 10-bit, lots of video goodies. But down on the road, if you have planned to spend some cash on this thing, you can make this camera a beast, and you can make this camera a awesome video machine to do your professional video making things. I bought this camera 6 months ago, and I am saving up some money for rigging this thing as small as possible. So I just ordered the small rig cage with a top handle and the HDMI clamp. Why I ordered this cage? Because I'll buy an external monitor. So after buying the external monitor, I can definitely see myself while I'm shooting. And for the autofocus issue, I am planning to buy a 35mm f1.8 prime lens to shoot my A-rolls, like this shot, like the shot that I'm shooting right now, this little frames, and I'm talking to the camera. For this kind of shoot, I will buy a native Sony lens, which is the focal length will be like not 50 is a little bit tighter for the APS-C sensor. I will buy the 35mm f, which will be perfect for taking this kind of talking shot. So after buying this couple of things, I can make this thing really a beast of a video machine. Every issue or every negative things I just talk about this camera, or every issues that this camera is giving me or slowing me down my workflow, will be fixed. So with an external monitor, I can see my, so first I'll buy the external monitor, and I can change the focus if I am not in focus, or I can manually set the focus at a guess, and if I'm not in focus, I will go a little bit further or come a little bit forward, and then my face will be in focus. This is how the focus plane works, right? An external monitor will speed up my workflow and make my life a lot of easier. But if I want to just sit in my chair and just hit the record button and start talking about the tech, then I have to buy a native Sony lens. By the way, this Sony cameras has extremely awesome autofocus feature. Like, these cameras doing great in autofocus, but of course with the native Sony lenses, not the third party or not the adaptive lenses. So with this kit lens, this camera autofocus is just awesome. You can completely rely on the autofocus no matter what. It has a great facial recognition and also the eye recognition, so it will tack sharp on your eyelashes, which is really great thing. But this feature will only work with the native Sony lenses. You have to upload in YouTube frequently. When I had the Canon 70D, I just go to the tripod, I just hit record, and I come here and I start talking. I can see myself. The dual pixel autofocus of the Canon 70D with the STM lens works fine, works awesome. So the issues that I have talked about is fixable. It's not like it's not fixable, but that will cost you a little bit. I bought this camera for like I have planned for using the camera for like 5 years, because I am not seeing that in 5 years the next resolution will come like 8K or something like that, because the 4K is not even mainstream, it's not even standard. Majority of the people are watching content in 1080p, not even the 4K. So the 4K will take like 2 or 3 more years to be used in majority of the world. So the shortcomings that I have with this camera, the autofocus and the fact that I cannot see myself when I'm shooting, I'll fix that. I have ordered the cage, I'll order the external monitor for my camera, then I can see myself, and after that I will save up some money and I will buy the native Sony lens, which will give me the autofocus. Should you buy this camera for doing YouTube videos in one-man crew? So if you have the plan to spend the only bare bone money that costs this camera, then don't buy this camera, because you need someone to operate behind this camera, because of the non-flippy screen and autofocus, because you will not be satisfied with the results of this kit lens. And if you have a lot of Canon glasses, you can use those Canon glasses with adapter, but you will lose autofocus, so a man will do the focusing for you. But if you have planned to use this camera for YouTube or for other things for like next 5 or 6 years, then definitely that's a yes. The reason is, right now this camera is cheap, it's not very expensive, it's around $800 to $900 with the kit lens and some bundle which gives you a lot of goodies. And down in the road, when you can save up some money and you can buy a native prime lenses for doing your YouTube things, so you can buy some external monitor to see yourself. I hope this video was helpful for a lot of the people who are trying to do one-man crew YouTube videos. Except the issues I have just talked about, you will not be disappointed with this camera. This camera is currently $800. External monitor to see yourself. The Best View S7 or the Fieldworld F7 is a stunning 7-inch monitor with 1080p resolution. And if you want a native Sony prime lens for shooting your air rolls, you can buy the Sony 50mm f1.8, which is the image stabilizer stunning lens. Also, if you want a little bit wide, then you can buy the 35mm f1.8. 50mm 1.8 will cost you a little bit less than the 35mm, and those will cost you about $250 to $300. The price will fluctuate with the time, so I will put the link of this product in the description down below. So if you want to buy this camera or the product I have just talked about to make this camera a whole complete package, the link will be in the description. You can those are affiliated links. So guys, that was my review of this beautiful stunning 4K camera, the Sony a6300. I hope you liked this video. Definitely hit the thumbs up button down below, and if you haven't subscribed in my channel, definitely do so by clicking the red subscribe button, because subscribing is great, right? Thanks a lot for watching, guys. Stay tuned, stay awesome, and I'll see you guys in the next one.